News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. So there's an ad that somebody on the Trump team, like a campaign staffer, retweeted, and it looks good and it sounds good. Here's the sound. I'll play the full thing again. It's 30 seconds.
What happens after Donald Trump wins? What's next for America? The economy booms. American energy is unleashed and an end to crushing taxes. The border is closed and the largest deportation in history is underway. No more wars as we focus on home. Law and order is restored. The American dream is back and the best is yet to come. Make America great again.
Okay, sounds great, doesn't it? Nothing wrong with that, right? Well, they're showing, like, they're making it like World War II, and they're using like World War II type newspaper headlines and stuff like that with Trump's picture superimposed and other things. Trump's camp did not make this. Somebody did, but somebody at the Trump camp retweeted it. There's a tiny, small, like, sub-headline, a tiny one. It's not, you can't even read. You have to pause the video and stare at it and look to make it out. And the headline says... said something about a unified Reich. Actually, it said something about the industrial. How does this go? Where is it? Actually, I'm looking at it's like literally that hard to find. But it says the industrialized world leads to a unified Reich. Here it goes. Industrial strength significantly increased. Let me just start it over. The big headline says, "What's next for America?" And there's a small subheadline to the left of it on like a left-hand column, not even the middle. It says, "Industrial strength significantly increased driven by the creation of a unified Reich." Industrial strength significantly increased, driven by the creation of the unified Reich, a unified Reich. So this must be something from a World War II headline on a newspaper, and they're just kind of mixing that with modern. But anyways, this doesn't say anything about Trump, what he wants. It doesn't say that he wants to do that or that he is that. It's just somebody put that together, and the Trump team should have looked at it, I guess, closely and stared at it and paused every frame of it. But the left found it. And it leads me to believe that this is a plant, especially when you see Biden come out immediately and do this.
A unified Reich? That's Hitler's language. That's not America's. He cares about holding on to power. I care about you.
Yeah, that's why you are screwing us with inflation, 7% mortgage and higher, making the middle class poorer and the rich richer. Anyway, the left arrogantly and excitedly jumps in on this and makes it look like it's true. Let me play some audio that we pulled from this.
It is normal, of course, for presidential candidates to share videos with their vision for the country. It is not normal for those videos to have references to Nazi Germany and Adolf Hitler. The Trump campaign tells us this morning that this was a video that was shared by a staffer while the former president was in court, saying that staffer missed the reference. But as of this morning, that video has not been taken down.
Former President Donald Trump sparking backlash this morning after a video posted to his social media account seemingly suggests there will be a unified Reich if he wins the 2024 election.
That's ABC News leaning into this. We're very serious. This is serious journalism. This is something that's horrible. This man is outrageous. What has this man done? He's going to kill us all. It's a Reich. And I got more I'm going to play for you in a second. That was ABC News literally taking it so seriously. So seriously. I'm telling you, you can't get it. Here, let me read you what the exact amount. It's 2 seconds long, and it's a sub little headline that you can't read unless you pause it and stare at it. It's 2 seconds out of a 30-second thing. I literally, this is so pathetic. It almost makes it seem like the Democrats did this, put this out there, made it look perfect, except for that. We need to find out who did this. Trump does. He needs to find out who did this and make sure it didn't come from a Democrat operative. I'm sure it did. But even if it didn't, it doesn't matter. I mean, you don't retweet something that's like that, but you can't even tell. Do you think this video was a Democrat plant? And do you think Trump supports Nazis and Nazism as they're trying to pretend like he seriously does, like Biden and ABC and all of them do? And do you think the average person realizes this is a hoax? that he didn't do this, he didn't support this. Do you think the average person actually realizes that? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Do you actually think this video was a Democrat plant? Do you think Trump supports Nazis and Nazism? And do you actually think the average person realizes it is a hoax? Boy, I hope they do. I think the people that don't like Trump are already going to say, "Oh, there's a Nazi." But I don't think the average person thinks the man's a Nazi. He was the freaking president for 4 years. Our bank accounts, everything was great. I don't have to convince you about that. That's what all the people say. All the voters say that. All the polls say that. Economy, he's like 58 or 60 to Biden's 20 or 30. I mean, it's over the top. Everybody knows it. Nobody thinks he's a Nazi except for people that try to make him look like it and take it seriously and act like it. Here's one more piece of audio from the ABC News coverage.
It's not the first time Trump has used language similar to what Adolf Hitler once wrote.
I didn't play it. It's not the first time Hitler's using Adolf Hitler, or that Trump's using Adolf Hitler. We're so serious. We're exposing the lies.
It's not the first time Trump has used language similar to what Adolf Hitler once wrote. Just months ago, he declared immigrants are poisoning the blood of America.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done.
This morning, the Biden campaign issuing a statement saying Donald Trump is not playing games. He's telling America exactly what he intends to do if he regains power, rule as a dictator over a unified Reich.
They literally are making a mockery of themselves. Nobody takes this seriously. Nobody thinks he's a Nazi. This is so... I'm embarrassed for ABC News and all the people that are, I don't know what we call it, the chatterbox, or what's it called, the echo chamber. To me, this is nothing. It's just another naked attempt to trip over yourself to make Trump look like a Nazi. I love that first part of what she said. It's just so laughable.
It's not the first time Trump has used language similar to what Adolf Hitler once wrote.
And then also in this ABC News article, they actually say, quote, this is so stupid. They pull stuff out of air, make stuff up and say, well, Trump denies this. Look at this. Trump has denied ever reading Mein Kampf. Why in God's name would you ever ask him that? Why would you think the man's read Mein Kampf? These people are freaking nuts. And they make stuff up to try to get this guy. This guy is so righteous that there is no question anymore. This is the absolute guy we must have, because these people tell us to run like heck from when he's a Nazi. Daniel, you're on in Weatherford. You're on 820 AM and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, Daniel.
Hey, how's it going? No, to answer to your question, I absolutely believe that is a plant. I mean, you got to look at. I've been saying this all along. It's like Trump keeps getting compared to Hitler and being called a Nazi and all this other. And I'm like, look what the left is backing with these college protests. And they're like literally screaming from the river to the sea and harassing Jews.
They're calling to genocide and kill all the Jews. That's what Hitler did. Yeah, right.
Exactly. Yeah, but we're like, they're going to continue to be like, oh, Trump's Hitler. He's a Nazi.
I like this. Trump denies ever reading Mein Kampf. Where did that come from?
It's like, isn't it the pot calling the kettle black?
Yeah, it's just, why are they even mentioning this? Why would they? Who said he does?
Anything to try to turn people against Trump. I mean, anyone with a reasonable mind should know that they're going to do anything they can to turn votes away from Trump. I mean, this whole catastrophe of the lawsuits they're trying to do and this whole election fraud and all that, everything. It's like, hey, we're going to do everything we can. So now they're like, hey, you know what? We're losing our ass off because Michael Cohen's a dumbass. Or dumb butt, sorry. He's a dumb butt. So, hey, let's find something else.
It's unbelievable, man. Daniel, I appreciate your call. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk to Matt in Red Oak. Matt's got a great point in Red Oak. Plus your call. We got 3 lines open. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, ABC News is just beginning with their their bogus Hitler is a Nazi stuff in the story this morning, they kind of ambush Republicans asking them what they think about the video they didn't even see. It's crazy what they're doing. These guys are so nuts. They look like absolute tools and fools. They embarrass themselves. All right, we'll get to that coming up next. Plus your call, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Do you think this video was a Democrat plant? Do you think Trump supports Nazis and Nazism? And do you think the average person realizes this is a total hoax? That's next to the Chris Crock Show, 800-288-WBAP. It's absolutely a joke. The left and Joe Biden have taken this Trump, one of the members of his campaign team, they retweeted a video that looks great and has a great pro-Trump message, but it's got some... I actually retweeted the actual the screen grab of it. You can see it on my Twitter feed, at Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show, CHRISKROK. It's right towards the top of my Twitter feed. Follow me on Twitter so you won't miss any of this, at Chris Crock Show, CHRISKROK. You'll see Biden on the left criticizing it today, like immediately, as if he already knew about it, maybe. And then next to it is the screen grab of this. You literally have to, you literally can barely even make it out. It's not even the main headline. It's so pathetic. And it's probably because that was a headline in the actual paper. There's pictures of like World War II pictures in there. And so, so it's like they took pictures of the newspapers in World War II era and they superimposed Trump on some of this stuff. And it was a pro-Trump commercial that I played for you. It sounds good. It sounds great. But there's this little sub-headline that says, I literally can barely even read it. It says, industrial strength significantly increased, driven by the creation of a unified Reich. And then that's like a small headline below, and then below there's some kind of a story. So they're trying to say that Trump is, signaling that he's a Nazi. And I mean, this is insane what they're doing. I played you ABC News taking this seriously. And then they go to Republicans to try to set them up. Senator Mike Rounds, Republican from South Dakota, was one of the few Senate Republicans, ABC News, who they went to, outrightly critical of the post. He said he had not seen the video. He hadn't seen it, but he'd heard about it. And he was critical of something he's never seen. Wow. That's a little pansy who's afraid to actually just be like, I haven't seen it. I'm not commenting on anything. I don't know. I got to look at it. No comment. And they said, well, everybody else wouldn't talk to us, but he would. He says if that's the case, it's a very serious mistake to make. It does not send the right message about what the rest of us believe in terms of freedom. And I would hope it would have been either an oversight or it would be corrected. To use that term in this day and age is simply inappropriate and it's got to be corrected. What a freaking moron to answer that question, don't you think? He criticizes the leader of his party and he hasn't even seen it himself and he tells the fake news this. What a jerk. He's a pansy. I'm serious. You don't criticize something you haven't seen, especially when it's your guy. You think a Democrat would do that? You think that Democrat would ever do that? They don't do that. They don't criticize anybody. It's embarrassing. Lindsey Graham was asked about it. He said, I don't know. See, I don't follow. In case you haven't noticed, the world is falling apart. Have you not noticed all that? Walking away then. John Cornyn, I don't know anything about that. Even Cornyn was smart enough to not say anything. And Romney wouldn't comment, said he hasn't seen the video. They go to the people that will criticize Trump and abandon him possibly. You know what I mean? The fake Republicans like Cornyn are embarrassment of a senator. All right. Question for you. Do you think this video was a Democrat plant? Do you think that Trump supports Nazis and Nazism? And do you think the average person realizes this whole thing is a hoax? 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Matt in Red Oak, you're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Chris. I just find it incredibly ironic that the mainstream media, all these folks are going to go after Donald Trump for this one small line that was in an ad that he didn't put out. But they're not going after our president for standing with the enemy of Israel. I mean, you want to talk about a Nazi? I mean, goodness, who's going after our Jewish brothers and sisters?
Who's selling them out? Who's refusing to give them weapons? And who's trying to stop them from killing Hamas and finishing the job in Rafah?
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Who set the table for the ICC to release the International Criminal Court, which is a joke, to release issue arrest warrants for 3 people in the Netanyahu administration, including Netanyahu himself, and then Hamas, equating them to the same thing. Hamas is Israel. It's unbelievable. Joe Biden set all this up, yeah?
Also, who in his State of the Union didn't even mention all of the Israeli hostages who are still being held hostage?
You know, he did mention one today, but he said he was in the audience. Did you hear that?
No, I did not, no.
Okay, there is a young man. In fact, he was the last person to be shown from Hamas. They made him do a propaganda video denouncing his government, attacking them and stuff. This young man who lost his arm or his hand, kind of half of his arm. He's an Israeli U.S. citizen, Hirsch Goldberg, Poland. His name is Hirsch Goldberg, Poland. And Joe Biden literally said today that he was in the crowd. The man is still being held hostage. And here's what Joe Biden said about him today.
Wow. My administration is working around the clock to free the remaining hostages, just as we have freed hostages already. And here with us today is Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, and is still, he is not here with us, but he's still being held by Hamas.
Yeah, here he is. He's with us. Oh, wait, he's not with us. This man, this guy is so far gone. This is unbelievable. What we're seeing, brother. Listen, I appreciate your call, Matt. Okay, get you some gas.
Sir.
I think you're at a gas station. You get you some gas.
Yes, sir. I
Take care. All right, bye. Give me some while you're at it too. Mike in Frisco, you're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, Mike.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
You're welcome.
Hey, I just wanted to say that I don't believe Trump is a Nazi or supports Nazis or believes in Nazism, but I totally believe that Democrats do believe that because they're so easily manipulated and will believe anything that's said about him.
How could anybody think that he's a Nazi and that he supports the Nazis when he was already a president for 4 years?
I have Democrat friends that will believe anything that they say about Trump.
Well, there you go. All right. I appreciate your call, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. How to split the bill after a dinner where you've stuck to cheap items and your friends have splashed out. You know, they've splurged. How do you do that? How do you split the bill? And tell me what you usually do with friends or relatives or whatever when you go out to dinner and you don't know who should pay this or that. How do you handle that? We're going to get into that coming up next. It'll be very interesting. And also some flashbacks to when we were younger. Remember how that went down when we were younger? Somebody always got the shaft on that. That's up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Well, this is a little interesting one because it brings up lots of memories. What do you do? How do you handle a bill, splitting a bill, when you've stuck to cheaper items and your friend got stuff that's a lot nicer? You know, a lot more expensive on the menu. How do you handle that? What is your policy? What is your rule on that? Like if you go to a restaurant with a colleague from work, in a work setting. If you go with a friend that you meet up from church or from work or whatever, how do you handle that kind of stuff? What do you do? How do you approach this? Do you sit somebody down and say, okay, is there sitting down, who's going to pay for this? They're talking about making sure you set the no pun intended, you set the expectations, you set the table. The less you can talk about money and the many occasions, the better, says an etiquette advisor. Etiquette experts say that before the evening going to dinner, people should talk about their money expectations to avoid awkward encounters later on. How about that when the bill comes up and then somebody says, oh, no, I'm not paying for you. What? Well, it was your idea to invite me. What about that? If somebody invites you, do you expect them to pay? this etiquette coaching lady said, it's okay to speak up and say, I only had a salad and a water. Can I pay my own way? Large water, no ice. Small salad, no dressing. Thank you. She also said that paying people back as soon as possible should be a priority. In order to keep things fair, experts suggest that the easiest way to navigate bill splitting conversation is to open up an app and let the numbers do the work for themselves. Well, do you remember when we were younger and one of the nicest friend would always say, just give me your money, I'll collect it and I'll pay it. Remember that? There'd be one friend, and that friend got the shaft every time, didn't he or she? Oh, yeah. I know exactly which one I'm thinking about in our group. The poor guy was always getting stuck. So people are like, here's some more. Here's some, like cheapskates, especially when you're young like that. That was always it. You did not want to be the guy that paid the bill, that you collected all the money from everybody. You didn't want to be that guy. So how do you handle splitting the bill when you go out to eat with a friend or a coworker? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. I've been taught by the best. And what the best have taught me, and I say that from experience from some of the great guys who have mentored me over the years here in DFW, and even when I ask them to go out, they insist on paying for it because they're a mentor of mine. Yeah, these guys are in their 70s, and they're always insisting on paying. So, I'm not going to fight with them, but I kind of think, too, when I invite somebody else, that I should pay for it. So when I want to do something and invite somebody from work, I will pay for it when I invite them. That's just how it should be. And if you don't want to pay for it all, then don't invite people to lunch. So I think it should be set ahead of time before you actually show up. Hey, I'll get it. It'll be my treat. You can get the next time or whatever. I think it should be established before you arrive. When the plans are made, it should be established. I'm going to take you out to dinner, my treat. Hey, let's go out to lunch. It'll be my treat. You let them know. I think that's how you should do it. How do you handle these situations? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Oh, they have apps so you can divide stuff up. I think that's getting too in the weeds, man. Round it. And pay the extra amount pay the extra amount if there's a question or if it's even close. You don't want to be that guy or that girl who makes a big deal out of something that's so small. It's kind of offensive, really. But if you invite, you should pay. And if you don't want to pay and you want to go out to lunch with somebody, then tell them that. Hey, let's go grab some lunch. Dutch, what do they call it? Dutch? Which is where you pay for yours, I pay for mine. I don't know where that came from, but, But if you invite, you should pay. That's my humble opinion. Here's an anonymous responder, USA Today reader. They quote on this Daily Mail article about this. Anonymous responder said she and a few other single friends had gone to dinner with a couple. That couple, particularly the husband, ordered a ton of food for the table to share as well as their own entrees. Oh, no, that's a setup. Hey, I'm going to order a bunch of food for everybody to have. No, I don't want anything. Nope, no thanks. Nope, no thanks. Yeah, I'm so generous. I'm ordering all these expensive things for you to eat too, but you're going to pay for it. Or you're going to pay for your fair share so I can eat this stuff. That's just the rudest of all rudeness. We enjoyed the meal, the drinks, and when the check came, the husband said to the server, you can split the bill 3 ways. But he ordered a bunch of crap that nobody wanted. That's a jerk. That's a self-centered, inconsiderate jerk. He counted him and his wife as one person, plus each of us single women. They ate the bulk of his food, his own entree, and drank more than each of us single ladies. That would bother me tremendously. I think when they're ordering all this stuff, you say, I don't want any of that. I'm good. I'm going to have my own little thing. And then when it comes to pay for it, you go, I didn't order all that. I told you I was only eating this. Make it clear at the time. Hey, buddy, I don't want any of that. What a jerk this guy is. One unlucky party member got slammed with a $258 portion of the check, but didn't make a fuss about it, but has been fuming ever since. Hey, if you're not willing to make a fuss about it, then don't fume. Say something. That's insanity. Scott in Arlington, you're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, Scott.
So the biggest thing now is most of them, like, they'll have the little iPad or whatever, and just the little POS that you can just pay, play games and all that, and you can even split it up anymore and just pay, pick your items, and then just keep splitting it up, but you pay for your own.
Yeah, a lot of these places do allow you to split it, right?
Yeah, you can just go in and just split it, do that. Most of them are the, like, I won't give the names out, but it's all the big, the big brand or chains and stuff like that have it and stuff. Growing up, I mean, we used to always just, hey, this is mine, and then you would total up yours and just go, here it is, and you'd throw in a little extra for the tip, and then, leave like a couple extra bucks for the waitress or whatever.
But, it never works out that way when everybody just puts the money and does it, honestly. It's like a vacuum. It's a hole. It's a black hole.
Well, and actually, it was kind of funny is part of it would depend, because since I was a big math person, everybody goes, how much do I owe? And they just hand me the thing and do it. And end up, doing it and put it out there and stuff. But I was always a designated driver too, because I don't drink. And then at the end of the night, I'd go, all right, everybody chip in for gas. And they, by that time, I'd always wait till the end of the night, usually, because then it's like they're, 3 sheets to the wind.
Here's $10 when they only need to give you like 2.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
that's
like,
great.
Man, how come you always have gas? And why do you always drive? Because you guys always pay for it.
That's exactly. Honestly, you should get enriched a little bit from being the guy that always drives the drunkards around, So, yeah. All right, brother.
They were just lucky I didn't have cell phones back then, because I'd have so much dirt.
There you go. Yeah, pictures galore. Yes. Vomiting on the sidewalk, etc. You too, brother. Thanks. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I mean that's unthinkable. So if you and a bunch of people go to dinner and or lunch and somebody orders a ton of stuff and I would be like, okay, I'm not eating any of this. If you want that, that's fine. Put that on your check. You know what I mean? I ain't paying for your gorging yourself, man. Heck no. All right, coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. The Biden administration sends condolences to Iran. Biden administration sends its condolences to Iran with its former president who just died, the butcher of Baghdad. Excuse me, the butcher of Tehran. They're literally, our country is saying we're so sorry about the loss of the butcher of Tehran. It's unbelievable what they're doing. This is incredible. All that's coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. It's absolutely insane what we're seeing. Twofold. The butcher of Tehran was just killed. That is former Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi. Raisi was in a helicopter when the chopper went down in some rough weather in Iran. They also lost their foreign minister and other members of their delegation in a crash in northwestern Iran. And and they call him the butcher of Tehran because he has killed thousands and thousands of people in Iran, people who stand up to the government, people who protest against it, hangings, all sorts of stuff. And this just happened, and all of a sudden, two things happened. Yesterday at the UN, and you expect this garbage from the United Nations, they had a moment of silence for the death of the Iranian president. Really important to remember. I'll just quote some of the quotations from my buddy Eric Erickson's comments today. Ibrahim Raisi oversaw the sham trials of political prisoners known as death commissions in 1988. He was in charge of the death commissions. Also, the extermination of protesters in 2022. The total number of deaths overseen by former President Raisi is estimated to be around 30,000 people. He's murdered 30,000 people. His own people, guys. 30,000 of his own people. And our State Department, Joe Biden's administration, yesterday at the UN, they had a moment of silence for him. They stood for a moment of silence. And our freaking United Nations ambassador, the United States, America's ambassador to the UN, stood to mark the death and have a moment of silence for a butcher. That's Joe Biden's administration, honoring a murderer. Isn't it funny they call Trump Hitler, but Trump's not killed anybody. Ibrahim Raisi killed 30,000 people, and they stood up for him. They honored him. Guess what else they did today? They issued a statement on this, and they offered their condolences. So our government stood up to honor the butcher of Tehran, and then today they issued a statement from the State Department honoring him too, mourning him. Here is State Department spokesman Antony Blinken was grilled on this today in Congress. Here we go.
Yesterday the State Department issued a statement mourning the death of the Iranian president. Now, I assume as Secretary you share that sentiment?
We express official condolences, as we've done when countries, adversaries, enemies or not, have lost leaders. It changes nothing about the fact that Mr. Raisi was engaged in reprehensible conduct, including repressing his own people for many years as a judge. And that as president, it changes not a whit about our policy, but it's something that we've done many times in the past, going back many administrations and many decades, and we do as a normal course of business.
Well, I don't think it should be a normal course of business. I think it's shocking that this administration would mourn the death of the butcher of Tehran. I don't. He's responsible for death, rape, torture, a sworn enemy of the free world. So I think it's a terrible mistake, Mr. Secretary.
Well, there you go. Isn't that crazy? We're honoring the butcher of Tehran, the president of the one regime that is the largest state sponsor of terrorism, Islamic radical terrorism in the world. The sworn enemy of Israel who says we're going to wipe it off of the map. The entity, the government, and the entity that funded Hamas and funds Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza and the Houthis in Yemen. That's who they are, and Joe Biden honored them today in words and deed. Mitch McConnell commented on this today, even the turtle. Okay, here he goes.
Well, I too would like to extend my condolences to the people of Iran for their long suffering under the brutal theocratic rule of the Islamic Republic. I suspect a great many Iranians would rather Western admirers stop lionizing a man known as the butcher of Tehran or executing political prisoners.
Did we issue a statement of mourning when Saddam Hussein was killed in that spider hole? All right, here's my questions for you. Are you comfortable with the Biden administration being so supportive of Iran? Why do you think they're treating Iran this way? Why do you think they're literally standing for a moment of silence in the UN to honor him, releasing a statement? I have actually, you want to know something? I have a statement from Bill Clinton when Pol Pot, the dictator, the murderous dictator from Vietnam. I have a statement that Clinton administration released when he died. We're going to compare it to the Joe Biden administration statement when Raisi died, the butcher of Tehran, in a second. But are you comfortable with the Biden administration being so supportive of Iran? And why do you think they're treating Iran this way? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. At best, they somehow think that they can grovel and surrender and beg and kiss the buttock of terrorists and appease them into a point where they will not do terrorism. But they did the opposite. They took Joe Biden's billions that he gave them to allow them to go from pumping 3,000 barrels of oil a day. Iran was pumping 3,000 barrels a day of oil the day Trump left, and now they're pumping. Joe Biden immediately let them open up the spigot to 300,000. I'm sorry, 3 million. 3 million. They went from 3,000 barrels of oil a day to 3 million. Might be 30,000 barrels of oil to 3 million, but they went up from almost pumping no oil comparatively to pumping 3 million barrels a day, which is 3% of the entire world population's oil, 3% of the world's oil usage. And they are a player, and they've been given billions and billions of dollars, $8 or $9 or $10 billion. Actually, I think they said 60 billion. Anyways, they funded Iran's terrorism to kill the Jews and Hamas. Joe Biden did. So I'm not comfortable with any of this. I think it's wrong. And I'm offended by it. Are you comfortable with the Biden administration being so supportive of Iran? And why do you think they're treating Iran this way? At best, I think they're hoping to coddle them, as I mentioned, coddle them into submission. And they literally are that naive to think they can coddle and kiss the rump of terrorists. And all that does is get you killed and taken advantage of. And they've done quite well. Coming up next in the Chris Kroc Show, I'm going to read you the statement from the State Department mourning the loss of the Butcher of Tehran, and I'm going to compare it to 1998 when Bill Clinton issued a statement on the death of Pol Pot, the dictator. Did he honor Pol Pot, or did he condemn what he did and honor the civilians that were killed under him? We'll look at the difference of these two. We'll share that with you next. It's quite different. Both Democrats, both presidents, and radically different responses. It's very telling. That's coming up next in the Chris Kroc Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. And then, Kate Hudson, Goldie Hawn's daughter, she did an interview talking about having 3 different kids from 3 different men. That's what she's done. And she seems to think there's nothing wrong with that, and that's all good. We'll talk about that coming up next on the Chris Kroc Show, whether you're rich or poor or middle class, if that's something that's healthy for those kids. 800-288-WBAP is our number.